My family treated me like the holiday chef until I skipped Thanksgiving and left them panicking. My name is Maren Elisabeth Carlsen, and I'm 35 years old. I've spent the last 2 decades building a successful career as a culinary consultant and food writer in Orlando, Florida. I develop recipes for major food brands, write for culinary magazines, and earn 6 figures doing work I love. My articles have appeared in Bon Appetit, Food and Wine, and Savour. I've consulted for 3 Fortune 500 companies on their product development. I own my home, drive a car I paid for myself, and built a life I'm proud of. But to my family, I'm just the woman who cooks their holiday meals. My worth, in their eyes, can be measured in perfectly seasoned turkey, homemade cranberry relish, and chocolate pecan pie that makes people close their eyes when they taste it. I am not a person with dreams, ambitions, or feelings. I am a function, a service, a convenience. If this story hits home, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Every betrayal I share comes with a twist you won't see coming. Let me tell you about the moment everything changed, the moment I finally saw myself the way they'd been seeing me all along. The gravy spoon slips from my fingers, clattering against the ceramic floor of my parents' beach house kitchen. Warm brown liquid splatters across my apron like a Rorschach test of my family's indifference. In the dining room, just 15 feet and a lifetime away, glasses clink amid a chorus of laughter. They started without me. I stand frozen, listening to the cheerful din washing over the polished marble countertops. Mom promised we'd all sit down together once everything was ready. That was before Adrian's Tesla pulled into the driveway 2 hours ago, his designer luggage and winning smile instantly becoming the center of my parents' universe. "To Adrian," my father's voice booms from the dining room, "for bringing this family together on Thanksgiving." The knife edge of those words slices through me. I've been here since Tuesday, chopping, seasoning, basting, while Adrian rolled in just before dinner, empty-handed except for a bottle of wine someone probably gave him. I bend down to clean the spilled gravy, my knees cracking against the hard tile. From this angle, I can see them through the doorway, Mom straightening Adrian's collar, Dad pouring him more wine, Aunt Sarah leaning in to hear his latest success story. Not one of them notices my absence. Have you ever felt completely invisible in your own family? Tell me in the comments, because I need to know I'm not alone in this. 3 weeks ago, Mom started the family group text with her usual holiday enthusiasm. "Thanksgiving planning. We'll cook whatever Adrian likes this year since he's been so busy with his new position." I had suggested trying something different. Maybe we could go to that new restaurant on the bay. Give everyone a break from cooking. Mom's response came swiftly. "Traditions matter, dear. Besides, you're so good in the kitchen." Translation: "You're so useful in the kitchen." I grab a fresh dish towel, wiping gravy from my hands. My fingers have finally stopped trembling. Something shifts inside me, like tectonic plates grinding against each other before an earthquake. I pick up the gravy boat, filled to the brim with the rich brown liquid I've spent hours perfecting. The silver serving piece belonged to my grandmother, who probably stood in kitchens just like this one, serving men who never had to wonder if their contributions would be acknowledged. Walking to the dining room, I place the gravy boat firmly on the table. The heavy silver base makes a satisfying thunk against the crisp white tablecloth. 5 pairs of eyes look up briefly before returning to Adrian, who's midway through a story about his golf game with a potential client. "Honey," Mom says without looking at me, "could you grab some more ice for Adrian's drink?" The request hangs in the air between us. I've spent 2 days cooking while Adrian hasn't lifted a finger. The words rise to my lips before I can swallow them back. No. The single syllable lands like a stone thrown through glass. The conversation stops. Adrian's mouth hangs open mid-sentence. Mom blinks rapidly, her social smile faltering. "I'm sorry?" I said no. My voice sounds different, steadier than I feel. Dad's face darkens as he sets down his fork. "Your brother drove all the way from Tampa." 2 hours, I say. He drove 2 hours. I've been cooking for 2 days. The silence stretches between us, filled with the unspoken rules I've just broken. My heart hammers against my ribs. This tiny rebellion might cost me the security of being part of this family, the conditional love I've spent 35 years trying to earn. Mom laughs nervously, smoothing her napkin. "Maren's just tired from cooking all day." She turns to Adrian. "The turkey is exceptional this year, don't you think?" And just like that, the moment passes. The conversation flows around me like I'm a rock in a stream. Adrian resumes his story with barely a pause, but something has changed. For the first time, I've pushed back against the current instead of letting it sweep me along. My no still echoes in my ears as I take my seat at the table, not rushing back to the kitchen, not fetching ice, not disappearing into the background of my own life. I reach for the wine and pour myself a full glass. When I look up, Aunt Rachel catches my eye from across the table and gives me the slightest nod. I take a long sip and feel the warmth spread through my chest. This Thanksgiving just became something entirely different. The half-eaten turkey sits abandoned on the dining table as I escape to the kitchen, my legs carrying me away from the laughter that doesn't include me. I need a moment to breathe, to process what just happened. My small rebellion, that simple no, still thrums through my veins like electricity. Mom's iPad sits open on the granite countertop, her Facebook page glowing with notifications. I shouldn't look. I've never been the snooping type. But something pulls me forward, my fingers hovering over the screen before I tap her profile. The most recent post stops my breath cold. "Excited for Adrian's special Thanksgiving menu. Can't wait to taste what my talented son suggested for our family gathering." My talented son. Not a word about who actually shopped for ingredients, prepped for 2 days, or woke at 5 this morning to put the turkey in the oven. I scroll down. Photo after photo from birthdays, Easter, last Christmas. Dozens of images of Adrian smiling with Mom and Dad. In some, I spot my elbow or the back of my head as I carry dishes to the table, or clean up in the background. Not one photo features me front and center. Not one. The kitchen suddenly feels too small, the walls pressing in as 35 years of being overlooked crystallize into undeniable evidence. I've always suspected I was less important, but seeing it documented so thoroughly makes my stomach clench. "Maren, where's the pumpkin pie?" Mom calls from the dining room. I close the iPad and grab the pies from the counter, sliding them onto serving plates with trembling hands. When I return to the dining room, everyone remains seated comfortably, Adrian at Dad's right hand. Mom beaming beside him, Aunt Sarah leaning in to catch every word. "Just set them on the sideboard, honey," Mom says without looking up. "You can serve from there." I place the pies down and stand awkwardly, knife in hand, as the conversation flows around me. Adrian, tell them about your new place, Mom prompts, touching his arm. He leans back, stretching his designer shirt across his shoulders. Just closed last week. Perfect little beach house in Siesta Key. We should all go down for a visit, Dad says, his voice warm with pride. Like our Key West trip last spring. The knife nearly slips from my fingers. What Key West trip? A moment of awkward silence falls before Mom laughs lightly. Oh, it was just a quick weekend getaway. You were so busy with work. I was never invited, I say, the words falling like stones. Adrian shifts uncomfortably, but Aunt Sarah jumps in. Speaking of family gatherings, I wanted to tell you, Adrian, I've decided you should have Grandma's china cabinet. It would look perfect in your new dining room. The cabinet I've admired since childhood, the one I'd hoped would someday hold my own collection of depression glass. Thanks, Aunt Sarah, Adrian says, not meeting my eyes. That's really generous. Well, we want to make sure these things stay in the family, she replies, as if I'm not family. Adrian needs it more than you do anyway, Maren, Dad adds, especially with how much he's stretched himself with the new house. Your mother and I helped with the down payment, but mortgage rates are brutal these days. The pieces click together with sickening clarity. The same parents who called me financially irresponsible when I bought my modest Orlando condo 3 years ago, with no help from them, had handed Adrian a down payment for a beach house. More pie, anyone? I ask, my voice hollow as I mechanically cut and serve, standing while they remain seated. The conversation shifts to Adrian's promotion, his golf game, his new boat. With each passing minute, the truth sinks deeper into my bones. My only value to this family is what I provide in service. The meals I cook, the dishes I wash, the holidays I organize while they enjoy themselves. If I stopped serving, would I cease to exist in their eyes completely? Would anyone like coffee? I ask, already moving toward the kitchen. That would be lovely, dear, Mom says, finally glancing my way. And could you bring more napkins? Adrian spilled a little gravy. I nod, turning away before they can see the tears threatening to spill. As I pass Aunt Rachel, Mom's younger sister who arrived late, she reaches under the table and squeezes my hand. Her eyes meet mine with quiet understanding. I see you, she whispers, low enough that only I can hear. That tiny moment of recognition nearly breaks me. As I stand in the kitchen, waiting for the coffee to brew, I watch through the doorway as my family enjoys the meal I spent days preparing. The question rises, unbidden in my mind. Should I maintain peace by accepting my role, or risk everything by demanding the respect I deserve? The coffee pot hisses, bringing me back to the present. I arrange the cups on a tray, straighten my shoulders, and prepare to serve my family once more. But something has changed. A seed of resistance has been planted, and I can feel it taking root. But they had no idea what was coming next. My phone chimes with the familiar group text alert 3 weeks later. I hesitate before opening it, remembering how the Thanksgiving aftermath left a persistent knot in my stomach. 3 weeks of blessed silence, shattered in an instant. Exciting news, Mom's text reads. Adrian is hosting Christmas at his new beach house. Everyone's so thrilled. I stare at the screen, waiting for the inevitable follow-up. It arrives exactly 30 seconds later. Maren, I've made a list of your dishes. The usual stuffing everyone loves, your cranberry relish, those little appetizers with the puff pastry, and maybe your chocolate pecan pie. Adrian mentioned how much he misses your cooking. Before I can respond, another message pops up. And honey, could you come early to help set up? Maybe around 9? Adrian has an important client breakfast that morning. My thumbs hover over the keyboard. The audacity is breathtaking. Not, would you mind making, or if you have time, but a direct assignment of labor, as if my time, my career, my life holds no value compared to Adrian's important client breakfast. I toss my phone onto the couch and walk to the kitchen. The headache that's been threatening all day pulses behind my right eye. Let me tell you how we got here. It started when I was 8 years old. We immigrated from Norway when I was 10, but even before that, the pattern was clear. Every holiday, every family gathering, I watched Mom in the kitchen, while Dad and Adrian sat in the living room. When I offered to help, Mom would smile and say, "You're such a good girl, Maren." When Adrian offered, which was rare, she'd say, "Go enjoy yourself, sweetheart. This is women's work." I learned early that my value lay in my usefulness, that love was something you earned through service, not something freely given, that being needed was the closest I'd ever get to being wanted. By the time I was 12, I was peeling potatoes for Thanksgiving dinner, while Adrian got the seat at the head of the children's table. By 16, I was cooking entire meals while he brought friends over to enjoy my food. They'd compliment him on the great spread, and he'd accept the praise without correction. I'd watch from the kitchen doorway, invisible, as he basked in credit for my labor. At 18, I told my parents I wanted to go to culinary school. Dad laughed and said, "Why pay for school when you already know how to cook? Just get married and use those skills." Mom agreed, suggesting I study something practical, like nursing or teaching, careers where serving others was expected, rewarded, normalized. I went to culinary school anyway, taking out loans I'm still paying off. They didn't attend my graduation. My college graduation fell on the same weekend as Adrian's work promotion party. "We'll celebrate yours next month," Mom promised. They never did. Adrian's promotion required a full family gathering, a fancy restaurant, speeches about his bright future. My bachelor's degree in culinary arts earned a greeting card in the mail, generic, store-bought, with no personal message inside. Just "congratulations," printed in cursive script and their signatures. I remember standing in my tiny apartment, staring at that card, wondering what I'd have to achieve to deserve the same celebration Adrian got for doing the bare minimum. A James Beard Award? A Michelin star? Would that be enough? Or would they find some way to minimize that too, to make it about him somehow? When I started my freelance consulting business at 28, Dad called it playing with food. He asked when I'd get a real job with real benefits. When Adrian got promoted to regional sales manager at 30, Dad printed business cards to hand out to everyone he knew. He introduced Adrian as "my son, the executive," with such pride in his voice that it physically hurt to hear. I bought my Orlando condo 3 years ago. It's modest. 2 bedrooms, a small kitchen I renovated myself, a view of the parking lot. I saved every penny, worked 70-hour weeks, and paid for it entirely on my own. When I told my parents, Dad said, "That's a big financial commitment, Maren. Are you sure you're ready for that kind of responsibility? What if you lose your clients? What if the market crashes?" 6 months later, they handed Adrian 20% of a down payment for a beach house in Siesta Key. No questions about responsibility. No concerns about market volatility. Just a check and Congratulations on his smart investment. Every single time the pattern repeated. My achievements dismissed, his celebrated, my presence expected. His arrival treated like a gift. Maren, did you update the Henderson pitch? My boss's voice cuts through the office buzz Monday morning. He stands at my cubicle entrance, arms crossed. I'm working on it now, I say, minimizing the Christmas shopping website I'd been scrolling through. I'll have it to you by 3. No, it was due Friday. His disappointment weighs heavier than anger would. The client meeting is tomorrow morning. This isn't like you. It isn't like me. I've always been the reliable one, the one who stays late, the one who makes everyone else look good. At work, at home, everywhere. That night, I barely sleep. My stomach churns with acid that burns up my throat. The clock reads 3:17 a.m. when I finally give up, padding to the bathroom for antacids. This is the 3rd night this week. As Christmas approaches, the insomnia worsens, my body rebelling against obligations my mind tries to accept. I pull a notebook from my nightstand drawer. Things I want, I write at the top. Then I stare at the empty page. What do I want? Has anyone ever asked me that question? Have I ever asked myself? The next morning, I arrive at work an hour early. I finish the Henderson pitch, then start on next week's projects. When my boss stops by to check on me, I do something I've never done before. I've completed everything due this week, I say. I'm taking Friday off. Not asking. Telling. He blinks, surprised by my directness. Sure, you've got the time. Everything okay? Just taking care of myself, I reply, the words feeling foreign in my mouth. Thursday afternoon, Jessica from accounting leans against my cubicle wall. We've been work friends for 3 years, ever since she noticed me eating lunch alone and invited me to join her group. A bunch of us are having a holiday thing Saturday night, she says. No family drama allowed, just friends, food, and questionable karaoke choices. You in? I don't know. I hesitate. I've got so much to do before Christmas at Adrian's. Come on. She nudges my shoulder. One night for yourself won't kill you. Something about her casual invitation cracks the tension I've been carrying. I burst into genuine laughter for the first time in weeks. Questionable karaoke, huh? That bad? Horrific, she grins. Dave from IT does an interpretive dance to Total Eclipse of the Heart that will haunt your dreams. I find myself nodding. Okay, I'm in. The possibility of joy, simple, uncomplicated joy, with people who expect nothing from me except my presence, feels like coming up for air after being underwater too long. Friday, I spend the entire day away from the kitchen. I walk through Lou Gardens, sit by the lake, read a book just because I want to. No grocery lists. No recipe planning. No mental calculations of cooking times and oven temperatures. Saturday, I try new recipes I found online, not for my family, but for myself. Experimental dishes that might fail. Creative combinations no one requested. When I show up at Jessica's party that night, I bring a dish I've never made before. If it's terrible, no one will shame me. If it's good, the praise will be genuine, not extracted from obligation. The party is exactly what Jessica promised: chaotic, warm, accepting. Dave's interpretive dance is indeed haunting. Theo from IT makes everyone laugh with his terrible impressions. When they ask about my holiday plans and I mention the uncertainty, Dave immediately offers, "A bunch of us are having an orphan Christmas if you want to join. Potluck style. Everyone brings something they actually enjoy making." The contrast staggers me. These people, some I barely know beyond professional courtesy, asking what I want rather than telling me what they expect me to give. "Thanks," I say, standing a little straighter. "I might take you up on that." My phone rings Sunday evening. Mom's name lights up the screen. I consider letting it go to voicemail, but something inside me has shifted. "Hi, Mom," I answer, keeping my voice neutral. "Maren, I'm finalizing Christmas plans. Did you get my text about coming early to help Adrian set up? We're counting on you. He's so busy with his new promotion." I watch my knuckles turn white around the phone. The familiar script unfolds. Adrian's needs elevated, mine dismissed. The old Maren would apologize for the delay and promise to do better. The old Maren would already be planning which grocery stores had the best ingredients for all those assigned dishes. "I'm busy too," I say quietly. "I have my own life and career." The silence stretches so long I check to see if the call dropped. "What's that supposed to mean?" Mom finally asks, her voice tight with disapproval. "It means exactly what I said. I have deadlines, responsibilities, and commitments of my own. I'm not just sitting around waiting to be useful to Adrian." "This is Christmas, Maren." "Family comes first." "Does it?" The words burst from me with unexpected force. "Because it seems like Adrian comes first, and I'm just expected to serve him." Mom gasps. "That's not fair. He works so hard." "So do I." The words burst from me with unexpected force. "I work hard too, Mom." But no one in this family has ever acknowledged that. No one has ever asked what I need or want. It's always about making things perfect for Adrian. "I don't understand where this is coming from," she says, her voice quavering. "We've always been a close family." The truth lands in my chest with stunning clarity. I don't need their approval to be worthy. I never did. All these years of contorting myself to earn love that should have been freely given. What a waste. "I'll think about Christmas," I say calmly. "I'll let you know what I decide." I end the call before she can respond. The following week at work, something strange happens. Jessica stops by my desk with coffee. "Thought you might need this," she says, placing it beside my keyboard. No expectations, just kindness. At lunch, my colleagues ask about my holiday plans. When I mention the uncertainty around family Christmas, Dave from IT immediately offers his orphan Christmas gathering again. And this time, I hear it differently. These people aren't trying to fix me or change me. They're simply offering space for me to exist as I am. That evening, I open my laptop and begin drafting an email to my family. The words flow with surprising ease. "Dear Mom, Dad, and Adrian, I've given a lot of thought to Christmas this year. I've decided not to attend the gathering at Adrian's beach house." I explain my feelings without accusation, simply stating facts. Years of unbalanced expectations, the toll on my health and career, my need to create boundaries that honor my worth. My finger hovers over the send button for a full minute before I press it. An hour later, my phone rings. Aunt Rachel's name appears on the screen. "Your mother called me," she says without preamble. "She's quite upset." My heart sinks. "I'm sorry if she dragged you into this." Don't be. Aunt Rachel's voice softens. I wanted you to know that whatever you decide about Christmas, I support you. It's long overdue, Maren. Tears spring to my eyes at this unexpected alliance. Thank you, I whisper. After we hang up, I feel something I haven't felt in years. Hope. Not hope that my family will change, but hope that I can build a life that doesn't require their validation to have meaning. But I had a secret. I'd been building something they couldn't see. A network of people who valued me for who I am, not what I could provide. Friends who offered support without strings. A career that validated my worth. Financial independence that gave me choices. For the first time in my life, I had the power to say no. And I was about to use it. My phone lights up again that evening, Mom calling. I take 3 deep breaths before answering, exactly as Jessica advised during lunch yesterday. Hello, Mom. My voice comes out steady, a stark contrast to the nervous tremor that usually accompanies these calls. Maren, we need to discuss Christmas arrangements. She launches in without preamble. Adrian wants to know which dishes you're bringing. He's planning the table settings. I press my palm flat against the cool granite of my kitchen counter. I won't be coming to Adrian's for Christmas. The silence that follows stretches so long I check my screen to ensure we haven't disconnected. That's ridiculous. Her voice returns, higher pitched than before. Of course you're coming. Your brother has a brand new house to show everyone. I've made other plans. I maintain eye contact with my reflection in the microwave door, refusing to look away from myself. What other plans could possibly be more important than family? The familiar dismissive tone creeps in. My plans are important because they're mine. Each word comes out distinct, like stepping stones across a rushing stream. I've spent every holiday cooking, serving, and cleaning while everyone else enjoys themselves, including Thanksgiving last month when you all started eating without me. You're being overly sensitive. I cooked for 2 days straight. Dad toasted Adrian for bringing the family together while I was still in the kitchen. You promised we'd all sit down together. For the first time in our decades of conversations, Mother has no immediate retort. The silence carries weight. Well, she finally manages, I'm sorry if you felt unappreciated. I didn't feel unappreciated. I was unappreciated. The distinction matters. You'll break your father's heart. Her voice wavers with practiced fragility. He's been telling everyone how proud he is of his children. I almost laugh. When did Dad last tell me he was proud of me? He didn't even acknowledge my promotion last spring. That's not fair. She stops abruptly. He what? He's not good with words, she offers weakly. Not like Adrian. Adrian is good with words because you and Dad hang on every one of them. You've spent my entire life treating him like the star of the show while I work backstage. Her breathing changes. When she speaks again, her voice is smaller. I suppose we've taken you for granted. The admission, however small, stuns me into momentary silence. My prepared arguments dissolve as unexpected tears prick my eyes. What would it take to fix things? She asks. I couldn't take it anymore. That was the last straw, and I made a decision. I don't know, I say honestly. I need to think about it. I hang up without waiting for her response, my hands shaking. Jessica arrives at my condo an hour later with takeout and her laptop. Operation Freedom Christmas is underway, she announces, setting containers of pad thai on my coffee table. You're ridiculous, I say, but the knot in my chest loosens for the first time in days. Look at these options. She flips open her laptop, displaying a booking site. Key West has vacancies at that boutique hotel we've been eyeing. Christmas on the beach instead of Christmas in servitude. I stare at the images of turquoise waters and swaying palms. My family would never understand. That's kind of the point. Jessica scrolls through room options. Your happiness isn't contingent on their understanding. My phone buzzes. Aunt Rachel's name appears. Speaking of family, I murmur, answering the call. I heard you're skipping Adrian's Christmas extravaganza. Rachel's voice carries none of my mother's accusation. News travels fast. Your mother called in reinforcements. She wanted me to talk some sense into you. My stomach tightens. And? I told her I'm visiting you in Orlando instead. The smile in her voice is unmistakable. I've had enough of Adrian's show-off mansion and your parents' fawning. If you'll have me, of course. Tears well up again, but different from before. Really? Really? We can start our own traditions, ones where nobody spends the entire day in the kitchen while others take credit. After we hang up, I book the Key West reservation for the days after Rachel's visit. For the first time, the holidays stretch before me like an open road rather than a predetermined path. My phone rings again that evening. Dad's name flashes on the screen. He hasn't called me directly in at least 3 years. Maren, he says when I answer, his voice uncharacteristically hesitant. Your mother mentioned you might not be joining us for Christmas. Before I can respond, a text from Adrian lights up my screen. Are you really not coming to my new place for Christmas? I've made other plans, I tell Dad, watching another text bubble appear from Adrian. I see. The uncertainty in his voice is new territory for both of us. Perhaps we could discuss this further. Your mother was hoping you might meet her for coffee next week. I consider the request, turning it over like a strange artifact from another time. I'll think about it. After we hang up, I read Adrian's second text. Mom's really upset. Can't you just come for one day? Standing in my quiet kitchen, I realize I'm smiling. Not from cruelty or vengeance, but from the strange weightlessness of finally being seen. They've noticed my absence. It's a start. The following Wednesday, the holiday music floating through Sunflower Cafe feels like an ironic soundtrack to the tension unfolding at our corner table. Mother sits across from me, her hands clasped around a mug of peppermint mocha she hasn't touched. Between us lies a worn leather photo album she brought, a tactical prop in her arsenal of manipulation. Your brother needs you, Maren, she says, flipping to a page with Adrian's kindergarten graduation photo. This isn't just about Christmas dinner. It's about family obligations. I watch her manicured finger trace the outline of Adrian's 5-year-old face, while completely skipping over my photo beside him. Even in reminiscing, I remain invisible. Adrian has important clients coming. He wants to impress them with a traditional family Christmas. Her voice drops to a confidential whisper. He specifically asked for your cranberry relish recipe. Not for me, for my recipe. You know your father and I won't be around forever. Her voice wavers with practiced emotion. Are you really willing to throw away your family over petty jealousy? The words land exactly as she intended, like a punch to the stomach. For a moment I feel the familiar guilt rising in my throat, But then I notice her eyes darting to check if her performance is having the desired effect. I reach into my bag and pull out my own folder. "I brought something too," I say, my voice steadier than I expected. I place 2 family photos side by side. The first shows last Easter's gathering, Adrian centrally positioned between our parents, while I'm barely visible at the edge, carrying a tray of deviled eggs. The second, from Thanksgiving, shows a similar composition, Adrian raising a glass in toast, while I stand in the background, refilling water glasses. 6 holidays in a row where I cooked every dish. I continue, sliding forward a handwritten list. 32 family gatherings where I arrived hours early to set up and stayed hours after to clean. 4 birthdays of mine that were rescheduled because they conflicted with Adrian's plans. Mother's face tightens. "We appreciate everything you do." "You appreciate everything I provide," I correct her. "There's a difference." I tap the list with my index finger. "When was the last time anyone took a photo of me enjoying a holiday meal? When did anyone offer to help me in the kitchen? When did my birthday get the same attention as Adrian's job promotion?" She shifts uncomfortably, glancing around as if searching for witnesses to my rebellion. "I'm not throwing away family, Mom," I say, my voice softening but not weakening. "I'm refusing to be the servant." Her mouth opens, then closes. For perhaps the first time in my adult life, my mother has no ready response. The holiday decorations surrounding us, twinkling lights and paper snowflakes, cast strange shadows across her face. Outside the cafe window, shoppers hurry past with bags of presents, their faces alight with anticipation rather than obligation. I pull out my phone and slide it across the table, displaying the confirmation email. "I'm spending Christmas in Key West," I say, "with friends who see me as more than what I can provide for them." Mother stares at the screen, her face draining of color as reality sinks in. Her fingers clutch her untouched coffee mug so tightly her knuckles whiten. "You've already booked it?" The question comes out hollow, disbelieving. Jessica and I leave Christmas Eve morning. "But what about Adrian's dinner?" The genuine confusion in her voice speaks volumes. She truly cannot imagine a world where my brother's needs don't automatically supersede mine. "Adrian has 2 hands that work perfectly well," I reply, "and a kitchen full of appliances with instruction manuals." She looks at me as if I've suggested he perform brain surgery. "He doesn't know how to cook a turkey." "YouTube exists," I say simply. "I learned most of my recipes there when no one taught me." The barista calls out another customer's order. Holiday music continues playing. Life goes on around us, while my mother processes that her reliable kitchen servant has resigned without notice. When our bill arrives, I take it before she can reach for her purse. "This one's on me," I say, placing my credit card on the small tray. No strings attached. It's a small gesture, but the symbolism isn't lost on either of us. For decades, every gift, every favor from my parents came with invisible strings, expectations of service, compliance, and gratitude for their conditional love. Mother gathers her photo album, her movements stiff and uncertain. As we stand to leave, I touch her arm gently. "When you're ready to have a daughter instead of a servant, I'll be here," I say. "I've always been here. You just need to see me." She doesn't respond, just nods once before walking out into the December afternoon. I watch through the window as she sits in her car for several minutes, not starting the engine, just staring straight ahead. That evening, Jessica helps me pack for our trip while sharing office gossip to lighten the mood. My phone buzzes constantly with texts from Aunt Rachel, who reports that family channels are buzzing with news of my Christmas betrayal. Apparently, Adrian asked if the turkey comes with instructions written on it. She writes with a laughing emoji. Your mother told him to order catering, but your father insists on a home-cooked meal. They're currently arguing in the kitchen about whether anyone knows how to make stuffing from scratch. An hour later. Update. Adrian tried to find a cooking tutorial on YouTube and got overwhelmed by how many steps are involved. He just said, Maren makes this look so easy. Your father replied, that's because she's been doing it for 20 years while we sat on our asses. Direct quote. Then, your dad just asked me if you were ever coming back. I told him that depended on whether he was asking for a daughter or a caterer. He got very quiet after that. I feel a strange lightness knowing my absence has created such a disruption. Not from spite, but from the realization that my contributions were substantial enough to leave a gap when withdrawn. For years, they made me feel like my work was effortless, natural, something any woman should be able to do without breaking a sweat. Now they're discovering just how much skill, time, and labor went into those effortless meals. The family group chat has been noticeably silent. No guilt trips, no angry messages, just the digital equivalent of stunned silence. For the first time in my life, they're sitting with the discomfort of my absence, instead of demanding my presence. As Jessica and I toast to our upcoming beach Christmas with glasses of wine, my phone lights up with a text. It's from my father, the first direct message he's sent me in years without my mother as intermediary. We need to talk, it reads. I set the phone down without responding, feeling neither triumph nor regret, just the quiet certainty that whatever happens next, I won't be returning to the kitchen while others enjoy the feast I've prepared. Christmas morning arrives with the Key West sun warming my face as I stretch out on a beach towel beside Jessica. The sand is soft and white beneath me. The ocean stretches endless and blue before us. And for the first time in my adult life, I'm spending a major holiday doing exactly what I want. No oven timer anxiety, no mental checklist of dishes that need attention, no background soundtrack of family expectations. Laughter bubbles from my chest when our friend Theo performs an exaggerated impression of his boss. For once, I'm not bustling around serving others. I'm simply present, soaking in the moment. My shoulders, usually tense with the weight of invisible labor, feel loose and relaxed. My jaw, typically clenched with suppressed frustration, is slack with genuine joy. Maren, get in this! Jessica waves her phone, framing a photo of our impromptu holiday gathering. I slide between Theo and Jessica, smiling without reservation. The camera clicks, capturing my relaxed posture and genuine smile. Later, when I look at this photo, I won't recognize myself at first. This woman with windswept hair, sun-kissed cheeks, and eyes that crinkle with authentic happiness, this woman looks free. She looks like someone who matters, who takes up space without apologizing for it, who exists beyond her usefulness to others. 3 days in Key West, and I haven't once apologized for taking up space. I haven't once asked if anyone needs anything before tending to my own needs. I haven't once made myself small to make room for someone else's ego. Your pick for dinner tonight, Theo says, passing me the local restaurant guide. The simple act of choosing without calculating everyone else's preferences first still feels revolutionary. The seafood place on Duval, I decide without hesitation. Jessica raises her plastic cup. To Maren, who showed us all how to create holidays worth celebrating. Meanwhile, 350 miles north, my phone buzzes with texts that paint a very different picture. Aunt Rachel sends updates throughout the day. The turkey is still frozen solid. Your mother is panicking. An hour later, Adrian tried to thaw it in hot water. Food safety disaster in progress. Then, they ordered pizza. Your father looks like someone died. You should see their faces. The truth came out. Without me, their perfect family Christmas is just another day with takeout and disappointment. But the real shift comes later that evening. My phone rings. It's Rachel, and I can hear the barely suppressed laughter in her voice. You need to hear this, she says. I'm at your parents' house. It's been a disaster all day, and your mother just had a complete meltdown. What happened? She tried to make your stuffing recipe from memory, forgot the herbs. Then Adrian attempted the cranberry relish and somehow burned it. I didn't even know you could burn cranberry relish. The store-bought pies are mediocre. The guests they invited showed up to chaos instead of the Instagram-perfect Christmas Kate had promised them. I can hear voices in the background. Rachel lowers her voice. But here's the thing, Maren. About an hour ago, Janet Morrison, you know, Mom's friend from book club, asked where you were. Your mother gave some vague answer about you being busy. Janet said, busy? Isn't Maren the one who usually does all the cooking? And just like that, the whole room went quiet. My breath catches. What did Mom say? Nothing at first. Then Aunt Sarah tried to cover by saying Adrian had hosted this year, and Janet just laughed. She said, Adrian? That boy couldn't boil water when we used to babysit him. Then she looked directly at your mother and said, You've been taking that girl for granted for years, Kate. Everyone knows it. The vindication hits me like a wave, not because I want my mother to suffer, but because someone finally said it, out loud, in front of witnesses. There's more, Rachel continues. Your father pulled me aside an hour ago. He's been quiet all day, but he told me he's ashamed. He said he's watched your mother treat you like hired help for years and never said anything because it was easier to keep the peace. He wants to talk to you, but he doesn't know what to say. I held all the cards. I always had, I just hadn't known it. The next morning, I wake to find my Instagram post from yesterday. The beach photo with the caption, Spending the holidays with people who celebrate my existence, not just my service, has gone viral in a small way. Hundreds of comments from women sharing their own stories of family servitude. Messages pour in from strangers who say I've given them permission to set boundaries they've been afraid to enforce. Women who've spent decades being the family servant, the holiday coordinator, the unpaid caterer. I thought it was just me, one woman writes. I thought I was being selfish for wanting to be seen as more than a kitchen appliance. My brother gets praised for bringing wine to Thanksgiving, another shares. I cook for 3 days and no one even says thank you, but if I forget the dinner rolls, I never hear the end of it. Thank you for saying what I've been feeling for 20 years, reads another comment. I'm booking my own holiday trip right now. 3 different food bloggers I admire have shared it. 2 local news outlets have sent messages asking if I'd be willing to be interviewed about the hidden labor of holiday cooking and the emotional toll of unacknowledged work. My phone buzzes with a text from my literary agent. Yes, I have one now, though my family doesn't know about the cookbook deal I signed 2 months ago. "Seeing a lot of buzz around your post," she writes. "This is exactly the kind of authentic voice readers connect with. How's the manuscript coming?" I smile and type back. "Better than ever. Turns out I have a lot to say about cooking for joy instead of obligation." On our last day in Key West, I finally respond to my father's text. "I'm willing to talk," I write, "but not about changing my mind. About changing the relationship." His response comes within minutes. "That's fair. That's more than fair." When Jessica and I return to Orlando, I find a package on my doorstep. Inside is Grandma's recipe box, the one I thought had been lost years ago. A note from Aunt Rachel explains, "Found this in your mother's attic. She's been hoarding it. I'm liberating it. These recipes are yours now. Use them or don't. Your choice." I open the box with trembling hands. Inside are dozens of recipe cards in my grandmother's handwriting, including several I've never seen before. Her handwriting, elegant, precise, with little notes in the margins about technique and timing, brings tears to my eyes. "Add extra butter when making for someone you love," one note reads. "The secret is patience, not perfection," says another. But there's something else. A letter, addressed to me, dated 3 years before my grandmother died. The envelope is yellowed with age, and I wonder how long my mother kept this from me. "My dear Maren," it reads, "if you're reading this, it means you finally stood up for yourself. Good. I spent my whole life serving men who never thanked me. Your grandfather, your uncles, even your father when he was young. I taught your mother to cook, but I also taught her the wrong lessons about a woman's worth. I see her doing to you what I did to her, and it breaks my heart. These recipes are yours, but only if you want them. Cook for joy, not duty. Cook for love, not obligation. And if anyone expects you to serve them without appreciation, tell them to learn to cook for themselves." I see you, Maren. I see how hard you work, how much you give, how little you receive in return. I see your talent being taken for granted, your achievements being minimized, your worth being measured in gravy boats and perfectly risen bread. You are more than what you provide. You are more than your usefulness. You are a whole person, deserving of love, that asks for nothing in return. I'm proud of you. I've always been proud of you. I just wish I'd been brave enough to tell you while I was alive. Be braver than I was. Choose yourself, Grandma. Tears streamed down my face as I realized she saw it too. She knew. She carried the same burden, made the same mistakes, and was trying to save me from repeating the cycle. And she was waiting for me to figure it out, to break free from the pattern she couldn't escape. The immediate consequences continue to unfold. Adrian posts a passive-aggressive status on Facebook. "Nothing like learning new skills. First turkey was a learning experience. #adulting is hard." The comments are telling. Several people ask where I was. One of his friends writes, "Dude, didn't your sister usually handle the cooking?" Another, "Maybe next year invite her and actually help instead of taking credit." He deletes the post within an hour. Mom's social media goes silent for the first time in years. No family photos. No holiday brags. Just silence. That silence speaks louder than any apology. 11 months later, Thanksgiving Day arrives with a completely different energy. The aroma of rosemary and garlic fills my Orlando condo as I slide the turkey back into the oven. The timer reads 40 minutes remaining. Plenty of time to join my guests. "Need any help?" Jessica asks from the doorway. "Actually, I'm good." The words come easily now. Theo's handling the potatoes. Rachel brought dessert. Everything's under control. When I enter my living room, Aunt Rachel pats the sofa beside her. "This beats Adrian's stuffy dining room," she whispers, squeezing my hand. My Thanksgiving table looks nothing like my mother's perfectly coordinated settings. Mismatched plates surround a centerpiece of driftwood and shells from Key West. Theo stands at the counter, sleeves rolled up, mashing potatoes while deep in conversation with Rachel's daughter, Emily. "Wine?" I offer Rachel, pouring myself a glass without waiting for permission. "Your father called me yesterday," Rachel says quietly. "Asked if you were hosting Thanksgiving." The mention of my father doesn't trigger the familiar knot in my stomach. "How are they doing?" "Managing." "Your mother overcooks everything." Rachel smiles. "Adrian burned the stuffing last year." We laugh, and the sound holds no bitterness. When we gather around my table, I take my seat, not rushing to serve or check if anyone needs anything before I begin. We pass dishes family style, each person contributing something to the meal. I taste everything, savoring flavors, instead of worrying about others' reactions. Rachel raises her glass. "To traditions that nourish rather than drain us." "To chosen family," Jessica adds. "To women who stopped cooking for approval," Theo says with a grin, "and started feeding their own joy." I feel tears prick my eyes, but they're good tears, healing tears. 2 weeks later, my phone lights up with my father's number. I answer with steady hands. "Maren," his voice sounds older, "your mother and I were wondering if we could visit for Christmas." I stand before the wall where I've hung the photo from our Thanksgiving dinner. 5 smiling faces, mine centered and glowing. "I'd like that," I say, "but things would be different. We'd cook together, not just me. And I've planned a friends gathering on Christmas Eve that wouldn't change." The silence stretches between us. Then, "I think we can manage that." When Christmas arrives, my parents show up at my door with ingredients and aprons. Mom's hands shake as she ties her apron. The first time in decades she'll actually cook instead of directing. I notice, but say nothing, allowing her the dignity of this small act of repair. Dad is quiet at first, watching as I set up my kitchen for collaborative cooking. He stands awkwardly in the doorway, holding a bag of potatoes, looking like a stranger in unfamiliar territory. Finally, he speaks. "Your grandmother would be proud of you," he says softly. "She tried to tell me, years ago, that we were making mistakes with you kids, that we were teaching Adrian to take and teaching you to give until you had nothing left. I told her she was being dramatic." His voice cracks. "I'm sorry I stayed quiet for so long. I'm sorry I didn't protect you from this." "I know," I reply, "and I do. Understanding doesn't erase the past, but it opens a door to something new." Mom joins us, wiping her eyes with her apron. "I got a letter from your grandmother, too," she admits quietly. "Right before she died. She said I was becoming my mother, and not in the good ways. She said I was breaking you the same way she broke me." I was so angry at her. I threw the letter away. She pauses, her voice trembling. But she was right. I can see that now. Why did you keep my letter from me? I ask, not accusing, just curious. Because, Mom says, meeting my eyes for the first time with real honesty. Reading it meant admitting she was right. And admitting she was right meant admitting I'd been wrong for 35 years. It was easier to hide the letter than to face what I'd become. We stand in silence for a moment, the weight of 3 generations of women teaching each other the wrong lessons about worth and service. We cook together, really together, for the first time I can remember. Mom asks for my guidance instead of giving orders. Dad takes genuine interest in what I'm making instead of waiting for it to appear on the table. When Adrian arrives, late, as always, he finds us laughing over a flower mishap instead of a perfectly staged scene. Need help? He asks, and there's something different in his voice. Uncertainty, humility. You can chop those vegetables, I say, pointing to the cutting board. He doesn't argue or make excuses. He just ties on an apron and starts chopping. That evening, when friends start arriving for my Christmas Eve gathering, my parents see it. They see Theo greeting me with a hug, Jessica bringing a dish without being assigned one, Rachel moving through my home like she belongs there. Because she does. They see a table where everyone contributes and everyone is celebrated. They see what they almost lost. As Rachel raises her glass for a toast, she catches my eye and winks. To the women who stopped cooking for approval and started feeding their own joy. To chosen family, Jessica adds. I meet my mother's eyes across the table. She looks older, humbler, more real than I've ever seen her. There are tears on her face. To families that evolve, I add quietly. Mom nods, and in that small gesture I see the beginning of something I never thought possible. Not forgiveness exactly, but acknowledgement. Recognition. The possibility of repair. Later that night, after everyone has gone home except my parents, Mom helps me wash dishes while Dad dries. It's such a small thing, but it matters. I've been thinking, Mom says carefully, her hands in soapy water, about what you said at the cafe. About wanting a daughter instead of a servant. I wait, not making it easy for her. I don't know if I can change completely, she continues. I'm 60 years old, and these patterns are deep. But I want to try. If you're willing to be patient with me. I'm willing, I say, as long as you understand that patience doesn't mean going back to the way things were. I understand. She wipes her eyes with her sleeve. Your grandmother left you that letter, didn't she? Rachel told me she sent you the recipe box. She did. She tried to tell me, Mom says quietly, years ago. She said I was making the same mistakes she did, favoring the son over the daughter. I didn't listen. I thought I was different, but I wasn't. They finally understood, not fully, maybe not even mostly, but enough to start. The next morning, I wake to find a text from Adrian. Thank you for letting me be part of yesterday. I'm sorry it took me so long to see what you were carrying. I want to do better. It's not everything, but it's something. My cookbook comes out 4 months later. The dedication reads, To my grandmother, who taught me that recipes are love letters, but only when given freely. And to every woman who's ever wondered if she exists beyond what she provides. You do. I see you. The book becomes a surprise bestseller, not because of fancy techniques or trendy ingredients, but because of the stories between the recipes. Stories about cooking as joy instead of obligation, about setting boundaries, about finding chosen family, about the moment I dropped the gravy spoon and decided my life was my own. Each recipe comes with two versions: the story of how I learned it while trying to earn love, and the story of how I reclaimed it by choosing joy. The cranberry relish that was once demanded is now shared freely. The stuffing that symbolized servitude becomes a celebration of my grandmother's legacy. The chocolate pecan pie I was expected to provide transforms into a gift I choose to give. I do interviews where women cry and tell me their own stories. A woman in Phoenix who spent 40 years cooking for in-laws who never learned her name. A single mother in Chicago who realized she was teaching her daughters the same patterns of servitude she learned from her mother. A retired teacher in Maine who finally told her adult children that holiday dinners would now be potluck. Everyone contributes, or everyone eats takeout. I host workshops where we talk as much about self-worth as we do about technique. We discuss the invisible labor that holds families together. We share strategies for setting boundaries without guilt. We practice saying no in safe spaces before trying it with family. We build a community of people who understand that food is love, yes, but love shouldn't require servitude. One woman tells me, "I thought if I stopped serving, I'd stop mattering. Your book showed me I never mattered to them because I was serving. I mattered despite it, not because of it." My relationship with my parents remains complicated. Some holidays I spend with them, some I don't. When I do, we cook together. When I don't, they've learned to cook for themselves, or order takeout without complaint. Adrian and I talk more now. Real conversations, not just surface pleasantries. He's learning to cook, slowly, and he calls sometimes to ask for advice. I help him, but I don't do it for him. The best revenge, it turns out, isn't revenge at all. It's living well. It's building a life so full of genuine joy that you don't need validation from people who never saw you clearly in the first place. It's becoming the person you were always meant to be. 1 year after that Thanksgiving, when everything changed, I host another holiday dinner. This time, the guest list is longer. My chosen family, a few blood relatives who've earned their place, and some new friends I've made through my book tour. As I look around my table at faces that light up when I enter a room, at people who offer to help before being asked, at a community built on mutual respect rather than obligation, I feel something I haven't felt in 35 years. I feel seen. I feel valued. I feel free. And I realize this is what I wanted all along, not revenge, not even vindication, just the simple human dignity of being treated as a whole person instead of a set of useful skills. I found my real family, and it turns out family isn't always the people you're born to. Sometimes it's the people who see you as you are and celebrate that person. Sometimes it's the people who ask what you want instead of telling you what they need. Sometimes it's the people who understand that love isn't measured in servitude. As Rachel raises her glass for the toast, I look around my table and smile. To traditions that nourish rather than drain us, she says. To chosen family, Jessica adds. To living well, Theo contributes. And I add the final piece. To knowing your worth and refusing to settle for less. The best revenge is living well. But even better than revenge is living free. So I ask you, have you ever had to choose between family tradition and your own well-being? Have you ever felt invisible in your own family? Tell me your story in the comments. Let's build a community where everyone is seen. Because you deserve more than the scraps of conditional love. You deserve to be celebrated for who you are, not what you provide. You deserve to exist beyond your usefulness. And if no one in your life has told you that lately, I'm telling you now, you are enough. You have always been enough. Now go live like you believe it.